FBI Director James Comey gave about 4 hours of testimony yesterday. Most of it was related to the investigation into Donald Trump and Russia, although it lacked specificity in many cases. Some interesting things we learned from James Comey's testimony. Number one, obviously, in case you didn't know or you weren't sure, the FBI is still investigating ties between the Trump campaign and Russia. Number two, Senator Lindsey Graham directly asked, or actually, as part of number one of the people who asked about this was Senator Lindsey Graham, who said, is the investigation still going on? Comey responded simply, yes. Then, Acting Attorney General Sally Yates, we now have learned, alerted James Comey that disgraced Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn had lied about his conversations with the Russian ambassador and could be vulnerable to blackmail. That is a really big deal. It relates to the controversy around the testimony of Yates herself, but it also relates to how early was it at least hypothesized that Michael Flynn is a guy who could have problems surrounding him. Call it baggage, call it toxicity, call it what you want. Further, James Comey was asked, is Russia still now actively trying to influence American politics? The answer was yes from James Comey. And even though it kind of shouldn't have been a major deal, Comey said that what influenced him to go public with the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails was that Bill Clinton met with then Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and Comey felt he had to go out there and prove that the FBI was independent from political influence. Disaster. We talked before, Pat, about how this meeting between Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton, it really should not have been a big deal. But whatever level of a deal it should have been, it is a big deal because Comey said that's why he felt he had to go out and say something to try to assert the FBI's independence.
But when he went to the White House, the Obama White House in July to talk about the Trump-Russia investigation and ask if they should go forward in public about that, and the Obama White House said no, maybe he should have kept consistent at that point and not talked about Hillary Clinton's email situation as well.
I want to talk about that consistency because that's a really, really big deal. A couple other things from this hearing. James Comey said that the Justice Department will be going after leakers to try to stop leaks. Comey said that he doesn't care what Donald Trump says about him. Just before Comey's testimony, late Tuesday night, Donald Trump tweeted, quote, FBI Director Comey was the best thing that ever happened to Hillary Clinton in that he gave her a free pass for many bad deeds. Comey brushed it off during this testimony, saying he didn't give Hillary Clinton a free pass. And then we really got to the bit of this that made serious headlines, which is when it was proposed to James Comey that his decision to go public about the Hillary Clinton investigation prior to the election, but not to go public about the Donald Trump Russia investigation prior to the election may have influenced the outcome of the election. Comey said he felt mildly nauseous.
This was terrible. It makes me mildly nauseous to think that we might have had some impact on the election. But honestly, it wouldn't change the decision. Everybody who disagrees with me has to come back to October 28th with me and stare at this and tell me what you would do. Would you speak or would you conceal? And I could be wrong, but we honestly made a decision between those two choices that even in hindsight, and this has been one of the world's most painful experiences, I would make the same decision.
I like that. This decision that he made, which could have completely thrown off the course of the United States of America through the election of Donald Trump. The fact that he might have had a role in influencing the outcome, it made him mildly nauseous.
And the thing is that people would criticize him for concealing the Hillary Clinton investigation, but those critiques would be flaccid in the sense that he was also not publicly talking about the Donald Trump investigation.
That's what I want to deal with next, right? California Senator Dianne Feinstein, during the hearing, asked Comey, why did you treat the investigation so, quote, dramatically differently? Okay. And James Comey said, I didn't treat them differently. He said the FBI confirmed that there was an investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails and said no more until the investigation was closed. And similarly, Comey said, we revealed that there's an investigation into Russian efforts to influence the election of Donald Trump. Months after that investigation was opened, and we're only going to talk about it again once it's been closed. Of course, the key difference is, yes, Eventually, James Comey admitted to the existence of both investigations. Both investigations were taking place before the election, but only one of the investigations was mentioned before the election. I mean, as I was watching Comey say this, I was laughing or crying. I don't know which one. He said, listen, I did the same thing. We did 2 investigations, and I mentioned 2 investigations. Yes, but one of those investigations you mentioned after Trump had already been elected. That is not exactly treating the situations the same way.
I think he is an honorable man and is serving a decent job as FBI director
You do?
overall.
Interesting.
But he made the wrong decision here.
So you don't believe that? And you know what? I have to say, I actually don't know that what he did was ideologically motivated. That doesn't mean that there was no foul play in the forces that may have ultimately influenced James Comey to announce the Hillary Clinton investigation before the election and the Trump investigation only after the election. But I am getting the sense from this testimony that he was not personally ideological, sort of that he was, I don't want to necessarily use the term bamboozled, but that he was manipulated into mentioning one investigation before and the other one only after.
Yeah, there's definitely conflicting things here. We know that James Comey is also a Republican, but it seems like both parties at some point or another have criticized him for giving preferential treatment to one side.
Long story short, that explanation from Comey that, hey, we treated them the same way because we mentioned both investigations, November 8th, and whether you did it before or after, has a pretty big role to play in whether you treated these situations the same way.